Of Sketchtember. I am doing a 30-day challenge to practice different free motion quilting designs for the month of September. And we are almost halfway through. Um, I've already missed one day. I was traveling last week, so I might have to extend one day into October to make sure I hit 30 days and 30 different designs. But uh, it's always so much fun to jump on and say hello to my True Blue crew. So thank you for hopping on. If you are here live, leave me a comment and make sure you allow Restream um, to broadcast your name. So find that link. Um, Otherwise, you just come up as an anonymous comment, and I can't say hello. Um, and if you're watching the replay, thank you so much as well. So much fun to see you. Hello, Donna. So nice to see you tonight. We're going to practice some free motion quilting designs. And if you've seen some of the other videos in this series, you have seen the reverse side of this quilt. This is my New York Beauty serpentine quilt. And I just thought I would spin my background around and let you see some of the free motion quilting design. Hopefully you can see that there in the light coming in from the window. But I quilted, this is my wishbone figure 8 design. I'll do that a little bit later. I talked a little bit about pebbles earlier in the series, and a lot of it is just wavy lines. So, you can use very simple designs, and depending on the different shapes and the way they're interacting, it makes a really, really beautiful quilt. So let's get into tonight's design. And I actually did plan out all 30 days of designs. And so, that was 2 weeks ago. I look back at my list and go, oh my, what was I thinking? But tonight we're going to do a design called McTavishing. Karen McTavish is a beautiful quilter. She has won multiple national awards, and just so inspiring. She just dove in. I took a class with her once, and her motto is do the hard thing. So if you've got that heirloom quilt that really needs feathers and you've been scared of feathers, you need to figure it out, because that's what the quilt is asking for. But she has a very specific pattern of dense filler design that is called McTavishing. And so that's what I'm going to try to demonstrate tonight. And it's one of those things that everybody puts their own spin on quilting motifs. So your version of McTavishing is not going to be the same as mine, which is certainly not exactly the same as Karen's, but we'll give it a shot. So McTavishing is a kind of a hill and valley type design that starts off like that. And then she comes back and swoops in and kind of echoes her line. And she just continues that fill as she goes through her space. And then she goes off in a different direction, again with that S curve, and fills in the space. And so those waves just go all different directions around the quilt and provide beautiful, beautiful texture. Now, some things that have helped me develop McTavishing, because you could, you could come all the way out to the end points. You can also get a similar look where the edges never touch. And so I tend to do designs more like this more often than I do the connecting points. So again, develop your own look. But you'll notice this demonstration here in the middle. that you always come back for true McTavishing. You always come back to your starting point and you have a common end point. Okay, so let me just draw a quick block, and we'll look at how that, like if you had a, I'm trying to imagine how our, what am I thinking of here? I'm trying to imagine an easy quilt block to do that's a 4-patch. And I was trying to do an hourglass block and I was confusing myself. So we'll just do our typical pinwheel. Okay, and let's pretend this is our focal fabric that we're doing some other design on. And then we want to put McTavishing in the background. So I'm going to swoop and come in and fill those areas. And then I want to fill that bottom area. And you can see how we're swooping to the same starting and ending points. And then I ended up there, so I can travel here, and we'll continue to swoop and try to hit that same line. I have to change my direction because I was running out of room there. And I'll travel along here. And it gets a little bit tinier as you get to that point, and then we can do our curves out here and fill in there. And then if we wanted to fill in that section, and you can see how those swirls, again, this was my alternate block for my pinwheel, and then I've just left the McTavishing that you fill in, and it really works in any shape. And you can go in all sorts of different directions to get that swoopy look for McTavishing. Again, I was trying to show you how that would fit into an actual quilt block. One of the resources that is scrolling along the bottom of the page there is my Classic Blocks and Free Motion Quilting workbook that is a digital download at truebluequilts.com. And what I have done is I have given you different block outlines. There's actually 30 different classic quilt blocks that I have put in that workbook. So you have a basic outline, and then you can just practice your different filler designs inside of those different shapes, so you can see how that would work. I think McTavishing works beautifully as a background filler. So let's imagine, I'll do something a little more creative. Let's imagine that you have an applique block, and of course your applique blocks are going to look much nicer than this generic flower there. And we've got our whole quilt block background to fill in. So I'm going to just make my swoopy lines. And remember, I'm finding common points to begin and end at, so that it kind of makes those topographic maps, and then I have to change directions there. And then come in and fill in there. And then not really McTavishing, but I just needed to travel there. So I just did kind of those rainbow arches there. And connecting. And then if you're, one of the things you want to do with your filler designs is try to keep them all the same scale. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of thread buildup in certain areas of McTavishing, and that's where your thread choices will come in. And I usually don't do this type of filler design. My overall quilting tends to be a little bit looser, or I pick a different motif that isn't going to have some of those winding lines. So I use one kind of thread, top and bottom, all over my quilt. There are other long arm quilters who are much more experienced with these kind of dense fills that will use a thinner thread on the bobbin, and that can help prevent some of that buildup. But you can see how this applique in beautiful colors would just really pop, and you'd have that nice dense filler behind the quilt that gives some interesting texture without taking over from your other beautiful quilting. Definitely gives you a little more heirloom look and feel to your quilt when you are using that McTavishing. So our basic design was just that swoop, and we connect it at the beginning and the end. So enjoy. I hope you have fun practicing with McTavishing, and I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's live session will be early in the day because I've got some evening commitments. So I do want to come on live, but it will be I'll aim for 11 a.m. Pacific. How's that for a deadline? Got to hold myself accountable. But thank you so much for joining in our Sketch-Timber free motion quilting practice. Remember, sketch it, then stitch it. I'll see you soon. Have a good night, Donna.